Good morning, folks. Today I'm going to share a bit of my personal journey in terms of fat loss. Um, so what happened is sometime in mid-June, it was a Saturday afternoon. I remember, I think second week of June, roughly. Son was eating some snacks, and I just woke up and was trying to munch on something. And he said, "Dad, what happened to your, flat tummy or abs?" And I kind of told him very, very crestfallen, disappointed manner that Rishan, I'm going to give up. It's pretty hard. It was not that I was fat; I was quite fit in general, but that belly fat was still there. Maybe 3-4 inches, or probably the first trimester types, right? Something around. And whatever I tried, it turned out to be really hard. But so I kind of mentally gave up. Like what I've done is enough at this age. Then he looked at me nonchalantly, munching a snack. No, you can't give up. Do it. Somehow that stuck to me, and I thought I should probably give it a try. Right, that is how the moment started, and I thought I'll share my learnings with you. It may be helpful for people who are on this fitness journey and who want to lose fat. Been very careful not to use weight. Right, I'm just saying lose fat, and also people who are who want to go a little deeper into how it worked, or what experiences I've had that I think might be relevant for the skills level. So uh, this is just my transformation journey, or let's say progress journey, you can say. I've not built abs yet, but I think that flat tummy is still there. So I'll talk about it. So roughly mid-June, I think I was around 60.2 kgs. So what was also happening is around this time, I was eating very, very healthy. I mean, entire, last year and even in the last 6 months, I've been eating pretty healthy food, very less, almost nil processed food or packaged food. This is like when I say nil, it's almost like 95% natural whole foods, right? That is what I've been having, but very healthy food. But what was happening around May, June, I kept feeling a little uncomfortable with my stomach. I think there were three key observations I had. One was I was feeling a little sluggish after, let's say, lunch in particular. There was a fair bit of bloating in the stomach. That's number two. And the third thing was the poop. According to the Bristol chart, there are rankings in terms of how your stool or feces is supposed to be. And I felt that was not according, or let's say up to the mark, right? I can say that. I want to go into details because it may be a little embarrassing for people, but you understand what I'm trying to say, that it's supposed to come in a linear, straight manner, but it was not like that. And that can be very discomforting for people once you understand how it works, right? So this is how it was. I knew something was wrong with whatever I'm doing, and mostly it was related to food, but I wasn't sure what is it that I was doing wrong. That was the problem statement I was trying to find answers for. Even 6 months back, I'd gone to a doctor and asked him, a gastroenterologist in a very good hospital nearby. And I said, something is odd about my stomach. I've been eating well, I've been sleeping well, I'm exercising, but my tummy fat is not budging, it's not reducing further, right? And then they did some basic tests and said everything is fine. So, and I just came off. But intuitively, your body always tells you that something is not right. It is not right, and you knew you have to act. So then I started. It's around the same time when the conversation with my son happened. I'll come to that, right? So at the same time, I started talking to Chat GPT, and I told him, right, this is what I was trying to do, but I'm struggling. I know I look fit. I have fair amount of muscles. I'm fine with whatever I am, but since I have this ambition, or let's say one bucket list, you can say, right? Because as you get to 50s, it's pretty tough, right? I'm going to be 47 in a few days. Then I was telling ChatGPT, like asking it, like, what am I doing wrong? I mean, I don't know. Then as I got chatting a little bit, and then I was preparing for more podcast topics, then came, let's say, a little bit of knowledge and what do you call, information from it, that I was doing something wrong. I think what I figured was that I was eating healthy, but I was eating a lot. That is that seemed to be the main difference. And then I had to modify the way I was having food, and even what I was having, right? So there are two things. One is what I was eating in terms of the portion, and what needed to have in terms of the same food but in a different portion so as to bring down the calorie intake, right? That is what I was changing in terms of plan. I'll also show you what kind of food I've had to give you a rough idea of how this went, right? So I'll just share my screen and also show you so that it's pretty clear of how this went from June mid onward. So if you can see this, I recorded in mid June. As you can see, this is 58.8, but 1 week before I was 60.2. I remember that, but I started recording in Healthify Me from there. So you can see there is a fair bit of lessening in about 10 days, and then there's a slight increase and there's a decreasing trend. Again, if you keep on seeing, there is a fair bit of ups and downs. And so this is something I captured it very clearly. Um Typically, you will see a week's gap or 4 5 days gap just to show that it can fluctuate and you should not worry too much. But it's important to keep a track of how it's fluctuating by a few grams, few 100 grams on a weekly basis or even a daily basis. And then you can see it was going pretty fine. I almost touched 55 point. I had set a target of 55.5 from 60.2. That was my target in 2 months, which is quite reasonable. We'll discuss about that. And then you see I was almost there, and then it started inching up, and then it came down again, and then I there was a major jump on 20th of August. So this was incidentally the time during which I was in Chennai. So there was a travel, couple of days outside food, dosas, uttappams and stuff. So these are all not unhealthy food, but again, it adds to the calories in a different way. And then when I went to Chennai, I was with my parents. Due to Gokulashtami and stuff, I'm munching on some savories, right? And it all added up. So I went back to 57.2. Then I felt a little bad about it. And then I came back, followed the same process, what I was doing. And then eventually settle down on a flat curve again. So this is the sub 57.2 on 20th August. And then you just see how flat it is after that. A slight increase of maybe 100, 200 grams, and then again a drop. So this probably is the, let's say, the least weight that I have been in the last maybe, I don't know, maybe 8 to 10 years, maybe even 20 years. Maybe I think when I got married, probably I was around this much. In 2005, I think I was 50 kgs only, and I think I'm getting pretty close to that, right? So just to give you an idea of timeline and how my tummy looked, right? This is the mid June in which I took again a recording of how the tummy is. You can see it's bulging out a little bit, 58.8, and then you can see the bulge. Again, the weight is dropping. The weight's again increasing a bit, dropping a bit. Again, you can see dropping, maintenance, dropping again. Little that bulge is reducing as you can see after some time. This is like just a casual picture. Again, coming down a little bit. Again, beginning to shape pretty well. This is basically I've taken all this to ensure that I have not lost too much of muscle. I may have lost a little bit. I don't know, but I need to measure that. But I think overall I feel good, so I'm not too worried. I can build it back. As you can see, the lines have started coming, and it's kind of flattening a little bit. So there's not much. It's working out well. Little bit of drop again. And again, there's an increase. Again, there's a drop. Again, there's an increase. And then a boom, the big increase that I spoke about after the Chennai trip, Gokulashtami. Then again, a drop. Once I come back, little of updates. And then my best weight this was like 3 days back. And then again, there's an increase. And finally, this is today morning, right? 55.3 kind of met what the goal my son had given. So in terms of food also, I'll just tell you I wrote a blog about it. I'll link it to the podcast. So I completely shifted the way I was eating, right? That's the main change I did. The workout routine was the same. Sleep pattern of 7 to 7.5 hours per night was the same. Nothing had changed. Exercise was same. I walked a lot on an average of about, let's say, 11 to 12,000 steps per day. That's my daily average this year. And I've stuck to that ever since. And I have a lot of opportunity to walk. So that's not a big deal, including climbing stairs, many times in the morning and the evening due to metro usage, etc. And the fact that my office is pretty far, lends me to walking quite a bit. So just a few pictures in terms of the first few days, what kind of food I was eating. You'll find a lot of protein, some fruits, and and I've shifted from white rice to millet primarily. And then it's a lot of salads and fruits, eggs, curd, standard stuff. In fact, I'll read out some of the stuff that I've eaten: carrot and cucumber salad, paneer, mushroom, sprouts, khichdis, chana, lemon coriander soup, mixed vegetable soup, chow chow to millet variants. I mean, we have three different millet variants at home. Then sambar or some vegetables. So primarily, I was having the same amount of same type of food, but of course, I cut down on rice and other things. I'll stop sharing, so there's enough. I kind of reduced the portion, and I was tracking it very regularly in Healthify app. Right, these are the main changes I did. Now, for people who are thinking, oh, is it pretty hard? Is it pretty easy? Because that's what you want to hear from me, right? A lot of people want to lose weight or fat in general. So be very careful. I've stressed it many times, stressed upon it many times before that weight loss is not same as fat loss, right? You have to always strive towards losing fat while maintaining muscle. So be very careful. So that's why it's a harder thing to do. So what I also did is I was trying to retain my muscle by working out in the gym, right? And making sure I had reasonable amount of proteins per day to make sure the muscles were getting built, the protein synthesis was happening. While at the same time, I reduced my portions such a way that I go into a little bit of good calorie deficit. So as you can see, I've lost about 5 kgs in 2 months, right? 2.5 months, you can say roughly. So that's about 9 weeks. So that's approximately around 450 to 500 grams per week. And that is sustainable weight loss, right? So if you see on Instagrams and social media that if people have suddenly lost 10 kilos, 15 kilos, 20 kilos, yes, it's possible in 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. But for people who are not in a hurry, I would recommend that you take it a little slowly so that your body and metabolism adapts to the changes that you're bringing to yourself, right? You don't have to be in a hurry because the body then gets super confused. And this kind of 400 to 500 grams per week is quite sustainable, which means you're losing about 2 to 2.5 kilos per month. Of course, it's not going to be a linear trend, as you saw, even in my case, in spite of being strict or in terms of adhering to strict diet at 90 to 95%, let's say 95% rate, commitment rate. So I'm going to tell you upfront that it is pretty hard, right? And the hard part is not about exercising because that anyway I had a habit of working out regularly. The hard part is changing your food patterns and avoiding the temptations, the cravings that will happen when you see your own family eating all this Mysore pak, gulab jamuns, and kadla muttais and chikkis and all those wonderful sweets that come. And when in India, particularly with all the functions, festivals, birthdays, something or other always comes up every damn month that it's very difficult to control your tongue, right? That is where I think the problem will come for most people. But I think you don't have to complicate it. I had reasonable control, but at the same time, once in a while, I had some of these sweets, but very less, maybe 30 grams, 40 grams, once in a while, just to uh, satisfy the cravings that support it. But largely, 99% I was under control in terms of what I ate, and I was extremely methodical and fanatical about it. Right, this is like a almost the beast mode that I've been in a very very long time in my life. So that's why I'm going to tell you people that it is not going to be easy. It is going to be pretty hard. But what I'm also telling you that it is doable if you put your mind to it and then you take it step by step in a sustainable manner, right? The first month is going to be extremely hard and crucial. What will also happen is you'll start questioning if this is worth it because it's very difficult to control the amount of food that you eat. That is something that you have to keep in mind. Secondly, your body will also start adapting a little slowly, but that adaptation might not be very comfortable for you. In the sense, um, it will trigger you to eat more. It will purposefully make you reach to that sweet box that you really like or one of those things that you were used to eating. But that's where you have to exercise a bit of restraint. Third thing is the kind of support that you need from family. You have to establish that boundary pretty clearly, right? That expectations has to be set clearly. The first few weeks, everyone at my home was very upset with me, particularly my wife, right? Oh, I have to measure everything and pack for you. I have to, before you're not just sitting and eating, you're sitting and measuring everything before putting it onto the plate. I used to keep a cup weighing machine on my table. Every damn thing, whether it's sabji or soup or salads or millet, sambar, curd, buttermilk, everything I used to measure and then have enter into the app to make sure I knew what was going in terms of the amount of calories, right? That is very important. And after a month, I got used to it, and even my family got used to it when they saw that I was going to, I was not going to budge from my goal. They also adjusted to it, acquiesced to it, and then started measuring and keeping. So thanks to my family as well, particularly my wife and kids, they were very supportive. Half the time they spend time, writing in a paper or a pen or in mobile phone, giving voice notes to me so that I have to sit and enter into the app after finishing my lunch and dinner. One of the main things one of the things that I mentioned before I started was I said I had three problems, right? One is why was the belly fat not going in? Um, why I had floating and a little bit of brain fog after a lunch in particular, and the kind of stool I was passing the next day. I can tell you that this has been the best. I've been the biggest beneficiary of this change in a way that stool quality is now normal. It's the best that I can remember in recent times. Pretty smooth, nice Bristol chart rating where it's supposed to be, and there's no bloating. And there is absolutely zero brain fog after lunch. Typically, I eat between 12:45 and 1. The mornings are typically a couple of cups of coffee or water and honey, etc. I generally don't eat before lunch, and then I have dinner by around anywhere from 8 to 8:30. I know it's pretty late, so I'm going to try and change that routine to maybe around 7:30. That's one more tweak I'll do. But roughly, this is what I've been doing. The most important thing for all of you to remember, guys or girls, is to remember that you sleep pretty well. I've mentioned this many times before. Sleep, exercise, and diet. These are the foundations or pillars of your wellness. And one of the most crucial things in this tripod is your sleep. It pretty much uh, renders the other two activities, or nullifies the effect or reduces the impact of those other two activities if you don't sleep pretty well, right? What I've also observed is, when particularly on Saturdays and Sundays when I'm at home, I tend to eat a little more, particularly if I take a nap after Saturday on Sunday lunch. So what I figured is also sleep somehow induces. I think it probably starts secreting the cortisol to wake you up, etc. It kind of wants to make sure you feel at ease quickly, and that's what prompts you to eat a little bit of comfort food to make yourself feel good, right? Now, coming to the type of food, I think I showed you what I was eating. Also, in terms of those who are interested in, let's say, who are resistance training and want to understand the kind of amount of protein I was having, at my weight of 60, or let's say now 55 point something, I was still having around average of 65 to 66 grams per day. It is not a lot. It's supposed to be in the range of 80 to 85, but it was also quite hard to do for me, right? I still haven't cracked that piece of the puzzle, how to get to 75, 85, 90 grams of protein per day. But for now, I think I'm in the range of 65 or maybe 70 grams per day, and that's kind of okay, but it's probably not the best. As you can see, I started eating more of complex carbohydrates, almost zero processed foods. In fact, I don't touch processed foods at all or outside food. I was sticking to home food. And even I shifted from curd to buttermilk after dinner. Every night I had buttermilk after dinner instead of curd, right? Because I'm so used to addicted to curd. In fact, that it was very hard to quit. But in the last 2 months, I think I hardly had curd maybe a few times. Uh, and the other changes, I also cut down on idli, dosa, uttapams, and all of those varieties. Complete zero. No moraga podi and oil and stuff. So this was like completely off my charts for the last 2.5 months. Again, that is very hard for me to do because I'm a South Indian tambram. So having that idli, dosa, moraga podi, uttapam was something that it was inseparable from my life. But in the interest of the progress that I wanted to make and the commitment that I'd given to my son and for myself, right? Well, it's not an excuse that I committed to my son that I have to do it, but it's for myself. I want to show that I can do it. It feels good. So that's one reason I had to control in terms of what went in so that I can have the desired outcome, right? And a lot of times, a lot of people, specifically in the last 2 months, have asked me what has happened. Suddenly, you seem to have become fitter and better in terms of fitness and looks as well. I think it actually shows in my face. I don't know if it shows in the camera. I can't really see, but difficult. But I think I can feel it. The pants have become a looser than before. In fact, when I go to buy dresses for myself, I usually buy S size, both t-shirts and shirts. The shirt is 38, in t-shirt it is yes. Now I think I have to start probably going into, that, 15 to 16-year-old kid section, probably to pick up some t-shirts, because everything else is becoming a little loose for me. But I'm feeling really, really good. Almost zero brain fog after lunch. I have a very light lunch. It feels good. The focus is very, very clear. I didn't do anything drastic, guys. I mean, things like, it was not a strict intermittent fasting that I did. As you can see, I used to have coffees in the morning, couple of cups of filter coffee, maybe a black coffee sometimes. On days in which I was extremely hungry, there are days that will happen. I had couple of idlis in the morning on the way to office. So it was not 100% strict story, something that I thought was sustainable. So you also have to understand that though the journey is pretty tough, you don't want to bring in too many tough variables to it. As such, life is tough. As such, the thing that you're trying to do is also tough. Weight loss is pretty hard. It's not going to be easy, right? So when you have that kind of a goal, it's easy to get lost and get frustrated if you bring in every great parameter into the mix. Right? Then you're unlikely to do it, because you will start, what do you call, rejecting the progress. You will feel too frustrated that, hey, this is too much aircon. I don't want to do this. It's becoming irritating, right? So you don't really want to get into that kind of a mode. So make sure give yourself enough time and do it in a very sustainable manner. That yes, there has to be a little bit of difficulty. It's not going to be without that, but at the same time, something that you can live with, right? So if you feel a little tempted about having one kadla muttai chikki, I'm a big fan of chikki, so I used to have it once in a while, but now I've cut that down. I'm just saying that, but nothing is lost if you have it once in a while. But if you can stick to about 90% success rate in terms of the goals, that commitments that you have kept in terms of not having uh, junk food, I think that is more than enough for most people. What's the other thing I want to talk about? Yeah. Also keep in mind that if you're on a weight loss journey like this, fat loss journey again, right? Be very careful so that you don't lose muscle. That's bound to happen a little bit, but at the same time, and this a lot of people who go to the gym will relate with me, that if I'm doing the same thing without exercising, I would have lost more muscle. It's very clear, right? Even now, I think I might have lost a few centimeters of my bicep, whatever, what is it called, inches, right? Centimeters or whatever, I would have lost a little bit, but I'm kind of confident that I can build it back, get into hypertrophy pretty fast, because muscle memory is pretty strong. So essentially three pillars, right? Exercise, keep doing it. You don't have to run a lot, walk as much as you can. Keep moving throughout the day. This is not about just doing 10,000 steps in the morning or 5,000 steps in the evening. Don't do that. Move about 1,000 steps, 1,500 steps, 5, 6 times a day. That's it. Right? After lunch, maybe pre lunch, uh, post dinner, pre dinner, when you're having a call with a friend or with a colleague, it doesn't matter. Don't worry that somebody is going to think anything of you if you're walking and taking a call. You are not obligated to your company that way. Your health is very important. They are not bothered, right? So take the call and keep walking. It's not that you need to talk all the time. That's okay. So do that. So that way you will end up walking quite a bit. If you're talking to friends, again, walk and talk instead of sitting in one place like this balcony. In terms of food, prioritize simple foods, guys. I mean, I think this is the best thing that you can do. I had already mastered sleep and exercise routines pretty well. I think food is something that I had not cracked. I was trying to do it from April, May of last year. It was a struggle. I think it took me more than a year to understand what to eat, what not to eat, and how much to eat. Right. So this has been the greatest learning. I'll link the blog that I wrote about this about a month ago. This podcast, along with the blog and some pictures, might actually help you in terms of understanding what it takes to go into sustainable fat loss again. Right. And if you're someone who's not used to resistance training, I would again suggest that please lift some weights so that you don't lose muscle. If you're not going to do that, it's not a very recommendable, let's say, ideal situation for you. So make sure you lift some weights, 10, 15 minutes a day at home with some dumbbells. Even my parents at 70, 73, last time when I went to Chennai, they are doing weights every day, 10 minutes, right? Shoulders, chest, arms, everything they are, lifting and doing on a daily basis for 10 minutes. So if they can do at that age, 70 and 73, you should be able to do. Hope this was useful. I wanted to share this more as not as a boastful journey, but more as an experience which might help. some of you in your own journey. And if you have any doubts or you want to share some thoughts, feel free to comment and also share this video with people who you think might benefit from this. Thank you so much. Tomorrow, I have a very interesting episode coming. I'm going to interview someone special. She's a sports nutritionist. So I'll upload that video tomorrow once I make it. Cheers then. Thank you so much.